All right. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Keto Rocks. I'm Jim Hobbs, and to my left, right, or bottom is my co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe of Kix. And we have a special guest with us tonight. It's actually my most favorite guest that we've ever had on, and I could have her on every day. But she's got quite the story to tell. So none other than my spouse, my partner, Peggy Bassett Hobbs. So she's up on the left, right, or bottom, depending on where she's showing up on your screen.
Hi, everybody.
Wow. And people have been wanting to hear her story. She's told it in a couple of different venues, but since I've actually lived with her and I've seen her live this story out, you know, we talk about it all the time, and more so Brian than I do. But you know, keto truly is about health. It's a lifestyle, and it's not about losing weight. So if you're already at your weight that you're supposed to be at, keto is not a diet for you to lose weight. Now, you will lose weight if your body's not at its maximum fighting weight. Weight will come off. It's a benefit of being on keto and intermittent fasting or carnivore. But the reality of it is it's a lifestyle, and it's more to maximize and support your immune system, but to make you as healthy and whole as you can. And my wife was dealt some cards that she inherited from her mom. I'll let her go over all those things that she inherited from her. And so they've actually almost made her in her adult life where she could no longer actually function. And for a while there, she literally could not function. And she had to literally be at home for a period of time. She was losing weight. Her hair was falling out. I know she looks beautiful now, but her hair was falling out. She was losing weight, not trying to. And very concerning for all of us. And we went to doctors and specialists, and they're all trying to put a label to it, Crohn's, all kinds of different stuff. I'll let her share the story. But the reality of it is, it wasn't until we literally made a conscious effort to live a healthy lifestyle through keto and carnivore that life started to change for her. We did some other changes too, but literally that's at the heart of it. So I'm just going to introduce Peggy. I'll let her tell her story and what she wants to share. And feel free to ask questions, Brian. And for those of you who are watching at home, feel free to email us questions to ketorocks22@gmail.com. A couple quick announcements for those of you who keep emailing and asking about the Keto Summit. Just to let you know, we're just waiting to find out what's going to happen, because there's so many things happening in different states with what's going on with the COVID-19 and how each state's handling it, and some are reversing back their phases. The one thing we don't want to have happen is we schedule something and some of you can't leave your area, or the venue in which we have it is now shut back down and we can't meet there. And then you're made all your arrangements to come here. So we really just want to see things play out to make sure that the dates that we do give you and the venue we're going to host it at is a place that we know we're going to have it. To keep schedule it just to schedule it and then have to cancel it or remove it, something we just don't want to go through. So that's the update on that. We do have some apparel coming out, and we got some other announcements that we'll be rolling out here, but you can go to our, we'll have a link on the bottom of this video for you to be able to order your Keto Rocks Mask. And then there'll be some other stuff coming out. But with that being said, I just wanted to cover that. And so now I am honored to introduce my wife and let her share her story. And I'm so thankful she's actually here. So Peggy, why don't you share to the world your story?
Well, thank you. You know, I think that most of us have heard of a canary in the coal mine. And if you haven't, that just means that back when people mined for coal and didn't have technology that they do today, they would send a canary down into the coal mine to make sure that there was enough oxygen and that the miners were going to be able to breathe. Well, if the canary didn't come out, then they knew that this was not a good time for the coal miners to go down into the coal mine. I think our weight is kind of a canary in the coal mine. It's an indicator that there's inflammation in our body, that there are other things that are going on in our body. Now, there can be other indicators too, and there usually are, but I think that most of us can see weight. And so for us, that's a visual of, well, maybe that person has a hormonal imbalance, or maybe that person has other issues that are going on that are indicative of maybe future things like cancer, diabetes, and all kinds of diseases that are going to affect our body. And so from the time I was young, I was a big girl. My mom said I was big boned, and my mom was a pretty petite person. So, and my dad was pretty small too. So where did that come from? Why was I big boned and other people in my family weren't? Well, about the time I was pretty young, they came out with low fat, and my mom switched from butter to margarine and full fat milk to skim milk and meat to chicken, and we did all of these things because we were told by the powers that be that this is the way to go. This is the way to be healthy. You should have corn oil margarine and not have butter. And so that's what happened. And you should eat cereal every morning for breakfast. And we had cereal and we had pancakes and we had French toast and all that good stuff. Well, my dad, he ate eggs religiously every morning. He had eggs and bacon, and that's what sausage. That was his go-to. And he was thin. He died young, but that was from emphysema because he smoked. But the doctor said right before he died, my gosh, he's got the healthiest heart of any 69-year-old I've ever seen. And he was super, super healthy from that perspective. So if he hadn't smoked, Lord only knows how long he'd have been here, but he did. But he was very healthy from that perspective, and he ate high-fat foods. My mom gained weight after those dictates maybe came out from the government that said that we should eat the food pyramid, and so did I. And I think that a lot of people did. If you look back at the pictures and the photographs of people back in the 60s, they were a lot more thin than they are today, if you look at a crowd of people. And so I started having, I gained, was a bigger girl. I wasn't enormous, but I was a bigger girl, and I was really active. And then I started having issues with my back, and I started taking painkillers for my back, and all these inflammatory things started happening in my body. And I started having, I had issues with having difficulty. If I went out to eat, I would almost invariably get sick afterwards. And then about, I don't know, Jim and I started doing Atkins back in 2003, I think it was, and we got a lot healthier. We lost weight, we got healthy, and I don't know what happened. After that, I think we didn't look at that as a lifestyle change. We looked at it as a means to an end, which was a means to lose weight. And so once we lost weight, we thought we could eat like the rest of the world does. And so we gained weight back, and for a long period of time, we were vegan for a morally and ethical reason. And I think all of those things in this journey just really, really was hard on my body. And so in 2014, I got ill, and I got really, really ill. And my body couldn't hold any nutrients. I was sick for 2 years, brain fog. Jim had to my business for me and do that, because I couldn't even think straight. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep in the day, and I was just sick. And I couldn't leave the house. And so as Jim said, my hair fell out, my nails fell off. I thought I was going to die. And I think Jim kind of thought that was a possibility too, as did a lot of people that saw me, and the few people that did see me actually. So we just decided, I think in 2016, a device called the Beamer came our way, and I started using that, which gave me blood flow into my colon. I started taking probiotics. I started taking collagen, did things to try and heal my gut, because that seemed to be like that was the source of all of these horrible issues, and our power just went out. So there it goes, back on. Anyway, so at that time, I realized that sugar and what we consume had a tremendous impact on my body, and it does, I believe, for everybody. And I think we're all individuals, so everybody has their own journey. And I'm off of Zoom.
I can still hear you.
The picture's gone. You can still hear me?
Yeah, both
okay.
of them are frozen, but I can still hear you.
Okay, so it looks like it's reconnecting. So anyway, I got off of all sugar. I started eliminating things that made me ill. And for me, that was a long list of stuff. And it turns out that meat does not make me sick. So I can eat meat, and I can eat eggs and bacon and all of that stuff, and I can be healthy and lose weight in a healthy way, not in a horrible your hair falls out way. And so over time, I have lost close to 100 pounds. At this point, I'm probably 90 pounds down below where I was at my heaviest. And I'm about where I was when I was in high school. And it's been an amazing journey for us to discover what it is that causes inflammation. Things that cause me inflammation don't cause Jim inflammation. Things that cause Jim inflammation don't cause me inflammation. So I think for us, it's been a journey of discovery to get healthy. And that's what we've, that's the Reader's Digest condensed version of of a long, long journey.
Wow. So did the doctors ever diagnose what the problem was?
No, they didn't. And part of that was because I refused to go in for a colonoscopy. That was part of it, but I was so sick at the time. I couldn't imagine taking the fluids that you have to take in order to do a colonoscopy. Yeah. And so I wasn't gonna, I called them and I canceled that appointment.
Well, I'm sure they tried to guess what it was, right?
They did. They thought perhaps it was Crohn's disease. It could have been IBS. They guessed, but it was guesswork, and it was frustrating. Yeah. And part of my process was when I was 38, I went through menopause, and that was it. So I had these hormonal imbalances and problems that also created extreme difficulty in our life. And I say our life because Jim and I kind of have the same ones.
Yeah. That seems to happen a lot. My sister's going through that same thing with her doctor and her daughter, my niece. My niece was diagnosed. She's 13 now. I should know this. But she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. She was having, I mean, it seemed like for the longest time, she just kept getting skinnier and skinnier and just couldn't hold food down. And so they finally decided that's what it was. And they started her on those infusions. And it seems to be helping her. But my sister's got, it's weird. It must run in the family because, you know, that's why I ended up carnivore was, you know, because of gut problems. So my sister's too, only she's vegetarian. And, you know, I got her off the soy and got her to eat eggs instead, and which I think helped. But she's been to the doctor numerous times. They've never diagnosed her. They just keep giving her like antacids, you know, whatever they're called, beta blockers or whatever, which are
they cover up the issue instead of getting to the bottom of it.
Right, yeah, and those things, they cause some more problems because, you know, it basically blocks your stomach from producing the stomach acids that you need to break down the food, and then you can't absorb nutrients. And, you know, it's just a cascade of other problems behind it, like any of those drugs that they give you. But yeah, so it's frustrating that the medical industry, like, yeah.
It is. I mean, I think they're well intentioned, but they don't know what they don't know, and it's really frustrating. And I think that for me, that's one of the things that I've really had to cut out is vegetables, because vegetables, I love vegetables. I mean, I absolutely love vegetables and have eaten a lot of them in my life, but invariably when I eat vegetables, I get sick.
Yeah, same with me. People keep saying, well, can't you just eat this or that? I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It was funny, after I'd gone carnivore for a few months, I was at a friend's house, and I offered to like cook some food, and this person was, you know, she also ate vegetables. So I made some these roasted Brussels sprouts, which I used to love back when I ate.
So did I.
So I made a batch of these things, and I thought, well, it won't kill me to eat them like once. And I ate like a serving of that, and I was in misery for at least 24 hours. It took for it to subside. And I just couldn't believe the impact it had on me. And it was like,
yes.
And in the old days, I would eat that all the time. And I guess felt normal to me to feel like that, but it was horrendous.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so it's just not worth it. And it's funny when you get rid of the inflammation in your body and you get healthier and you realize that, well, that meat has all of the nutrients that we require. So there's really nothing, you know, thankfully for me, whether it's the fish or the fowl or the cow or the pig, it's digested those vegetables and made them consumable so that I can consume them, because that seems to be the only way that those veggies get into my body.
Right. Well, yeah, because a cow has a stomach that can digest that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I had something I was going to add to that. God, I can't remember now. Yeah, the whole vegetable thing, though, people always, they're horrified when they find out I don't eat fruit or vegetables, and they, you know, it's like, you know, they don't understand. They don't understand. Like, I mean, I love the way they taste, but I know how it'll make me feel, so I can't eat them. And
yeah,
you know, some people just. It's weird, like the thought of having to give something like that up, it just seems impossible for some people. But yeah, the price that I pay for it personally is way greater than the pleasure I would get out of the taste at this point.
Yes, exactly. I made the mistake of having an iced coffee with cream in it from Starbucks, and about a week and a half ago. That was a major error in judgment.
Yeah, you know what? I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to have to give up dairy soon because I've been, wow, I bought some, bought this, I think I had it in my video from yesterday that I posted, but I bought some, it was the raw heavy cream from this farm that where I get my eggs. And so good. And I've only, I only get it like every once in a while because I can't finish it before it goes bad because as soon as I start using it, I start feeling bad and it bloats me. And so I made.
So you can't even have raw cream.
Well, it's not as bad as like regular, I guess, but it's still, I can tell that it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't make me like sick, but I do wake up and it's like my ring's stuck on my finger and I feel kind of like, whoa. And so I bought this quart because I kept going to pick up the eggs and I'd open the refrigerator where you pick up your orders at this farm and I'd see all the other people's big jars of cream sitting there and it looks so good. So I ordered a quart of it. And so what I did was I made some ice cream out of it and I stuck that in the freezer. That way I don't have to finish it. I can just leave it in there and just eat little bits at a time. And like every few weeks I'll have a scoop of it or something. But I that's one of the things. It's like, well, it's messing with me. And I think I should at least give it up for a month to see what happens. And I'm just so resistant because that's my last like pleasure that I have. Like the pleasure.
Wow, you and I are in the same.
Yeah, Peggy just got through saying that this morning.
Yeah. I mean, I love meat and all, but that's my little treat is the cream.
Well, definitely.
Cream and cheese.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it because it's of the way the damage that it's doing.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and the further I strip it down, the better I feel, really. I mean, there's a couple weeks where I would just go strictly beef or something, and by the end of the week, it's like, wow, that really works. And then I'd sort of go back into the way I was doing it before, and, I know what I need to do. I just haven't stuck to it.
I'm with you.
So how long have you sort of been recovered from your issues?
I have been recovering since about towards the end of 2016.
Oh, okay.
So probably about 4 years, but it's been a roller coaster. So it's been a slow recovery. It's a couple steps forwards and a step backwards, and so it's been a process.
So you're strictly carnivore now?
No, that's a problem. 2 weeks ago I had the cream in my coffee, and well, that would still be considered carnivore. But I still do. I have a desire to be keto because I want to have more variety. Oh, right. But every time I do I go more keto, then I get sick again, and so I end up going back to more carnivore. So I'm very heavy carnivore. Little bit of keto once in a while that I generally regret.
Well, that's kind of how I experienced it. When I first jumped into carnivore, I just dove head first into it for a month, and it was like amazing that first month. And then I still lived out in California, and I was having relationship problems over that because it freaked my girlfriend out at the time that I started eating meat again, and she couldn't handle it. So I slid back into keto just sort of to make it look better, and so it was like September 2018, and our relationship ended up ending it in January of 2019, or right at the end of 2018. And once I moved out of there and moved here to Nashville, I went full on keto. Carnivore. And but before that, I bounced back and forth like that. I'd go like a few days carnivore and then go back to keto. And yeah, it didn't really, I felt better than I had before, but it still wasn't right. And I knew it wasn't right until I just kind of cut all that stuff out. And I can't even remember now the last time I had a vegetable. It's been that long.
Yeah, I still have vegetables every now and then for me, but I know for Peggy, it definitely, does a number on her body. It definitely triggers something, inflames something in her body, whether it's asparagus or broccoli or Brussels sprouts, and all
Brussels
three
sprouts.
of those. Yeah, Brussels, and we love all of those.
Yeah, me
But
too.
but unfortunately, there's a price, and it's amazing because you're literally saying the same thing that Peggy said this morning, Brian. I mean, she said, "Look, I'm just going to have to give up cream altogether," and I guess that's one of her, I won't say guilty pleasures, but pleasures is having an iced coffee, and there's nothing wrong with that except for the fact that she's realizing that her body, just for whatever reason, like yours, can't handle the cream.
Yeah, I know, it's a bummer.
But it's a bummer in the fact that and as I'm hearing you guys discuss and talk and relive in my own life, it's amazing to me that we continually go back to something that we know doesn't make us feel good.
Right.
I hear that and I'm like, why? And I'm the most guilty of that myself. I just don't understand what causes us to want to go back. It's just like the romance of whatever that is greater than the reality that's going to hit us.
Yeah.
Then,
Well, I noticed the stuff that I have continued to keep out of my diet, that was a problem that early on that I would crave and want and sort of eat every once in a while. Those things, the longer that they're out of my diet, the less I think about them. And I think the same thing would happen if I did that with dairy. It's just
right.
it's almost like a habit for me, and I
No.
just break that habit and step away from it and just let time sort of separate me from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beautiful thing though about keto is that anybody can do it knowing that you can go into keto and you're not going to miss out on anything that you love, because there's a substitute for just about everything that you love. And so I think it's such a great stepping stone for people to be able to discover what it is that for them triggers things in their bodies that, and what are you going to, what's going to cause the inflammation for you? Because until you step away from the sugar, I think that's the biggest, most important thing for people to know. It's that sugar and the things that turn into sugar in our bodies are the biggest causes of inflammation that we all have. And so if you can step away from that and use substitutes, then it's a process. It's such a journey, I think, for all of us. That's to me the beauty of keto. You don't have to be hungry, because you're not. When you do keto, you're not hungry. You just you can have all that good stuff. You can have whatever it is, whether it's keto ice cream or keto chocolate or keto pizza or whatever it is. And it's frankly, a lot of it tastes better than the stuff with flour and sugar and potatoes and pasta in it.
Yeah.
So
well, that's kind of, I mean, the reason I went carnivore to begin with was because I knew there were things in my keto diet that were still messing with me, but I didn't know what it was. So in order to find out, I had to just take it all out. And then once I got it all out, I just was like, man, this is kind of nice. Like it really felt good to get it all out. But now, it's funny. The last vegetable that I actually tried, I was at my sister's, was asparagus, but she had the little thin asparagus, and I only ate like 3 little sticks of it. I forget when that was. That was back when I was still touring and stuff, but that didn't mess with me. But it was, of course, it was a tiny little serving, but it didn't mess with me like the Brussels sprouts. Well, I haven't tried any other things besides the Brussels sprouts. So if I ever had to eat a vegetable, I could probably handle asparagus, I think, out of all of them.
well, I think sometimes when your body heals after I've read about people who they go carnivore and they're carnivore for a long period of time, and then they gradually introduce, one thing at a time. and they're able to really incorporate those things back into their world because their body is so healed from the meat.
Yeah, I've heard that. No, but and then also if it is something that gives you a problem and you try it, it's obvious. It's so obvious after you have it, which is kind of cool because then you go, okay, that was the problem. Instead of wondering, because like, what was I thinking? I woke up with this horrible headache the other day, and I'm like, what did I have that would have given me a headache? It's like, I'm going through the list of foods that I ate, and then I realized, oh, it's that ice cream. I made that ice cream. I woke up with this pounding headache in the morning. So
now you buy your raw cream at the same farm that you buy your eggs and your meats, Brian?
Yeah. Oh man, is it so good? Ugh. And back when I first moved here and I first discovered that farm, the first time I got some of that cream, you can take one of those milk frother things.
Oh yeah.
And you can just whip it up, and it just whips up into this beautiful whipped cream. And I used to eat it like that too.
Yeah, you were talking about it on your video that you did on one of the videos just today or yesterday, or that I saw from you.
Yeah, the most recent, yeah.
The most recent one, and you were definitely smiling, talking about that cream, that raw cream, and just like it's gold and how it's. And I was like, wow, that's something we may have to try out. But after this discussion, I just may keep it off my list.
Well, the butter that I get's made from that cream too. It's the raw cream butter. Oh,
and see, that doesn't bother you.
No, butter doesn't bother me either.
Yeah, I don't eat that much of it. I do put like a teaspoon or so in my coffee in the morning, but I use it for cooking sometimes within something. But yeah, it's not like the cream is different. I think it's because I don't know, especially if it's in ice cream form. But that ice cream, I used pure monk fruit powder. That's not carnivore, but I used that to sweeten it. But I only used like a quarter teaspoon, tiny little bit, so it's just got a hint of sweetness. But I don't know if that had that could have contributed to my headache too. I don't know.
So do you just mix that all together? You just take the cream and put it in a mixer or blender and add your monk sweetener and whatever.
I just put in a mixing bowl thing and just mix the egg yolks in there, and I'd also gotten some yogurt from that farm. She had yogurt sitting in the refrigerator with the prices on it, and I grabbed some of that and I ate that a couple times, and I was like, oh man, I don't know why I got this. So I dumped some of that in there too. There's a little bit of yogurt mixed in, so it's just a bunch of junk mixed.
Hodgepodge.
Yeah, and then I put like vanilla extract, and then I put it was a couple tablespoons of I ground some espresso beans and put it in there, and 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder. So there's a bunch of stuff in there.
So there's a chance that it may not be the raw cream after all.
Yeah, but no, I noticed that if I use the cream, because sometimes I'll have it in, like right now, there's just like this much in the bottom left. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? So my after dinner coffee, I put like a couple tablespoons in there. And now I'm sitting here and my stomach's feeling bloated. But I can feel it when I put it in my coffee. It just, it's not like the butter. I always feel kind of like, whoa, when I get done the coffee, it's like, I don't know. Why do I do that? I don't really like it even.
Right.
I prefer butter to cream, really.
Peggy, you still there?
Oh, I have got a question.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I do have another question. Is since you've healed yourself, have you been back to the doctor?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have not.
I just want, like, if you were to go back to the doctor, would you be seeing the same doctors you were seeing before?
No, because I didn't feel like I trusted them.
Okay.
So I felt like I didn't feel heard. And so when I feel like I'm not heard and I'm dismissed, and when I feel like I know my body better than anybody is going to know it, and when I'm saying things that I know to be true and they're dismissing them, I don't see the point in returning.
Yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of different people where you know, the doctor can't figure it out, and then they start making the patient feel like they're just imagining things, you know, that it's not real or something, or, you know, they start questioning the patient, like, you sure?
Well, they started questioning her. They started questioning Peggy in regards to, well, you know, you don't know that. And they were really trying to put her on, I want to say a diet but it was all stuff. Well, we gotta test you to see whether or not you're allergic to sugar.
Yeah.
So we got to put you back on sugar. What was that, hon?
That was it. They were trying to get me to eat things that I know I react badly to prove that to them that I reacted badly to them, and I'm already aware of that, and I didn't want to put my body through worse than I was already dealing with. And so we had that, and then I'd already gone through. So as I said, when I was 38, I went through menopause, which is extremely young. And when I went to the doctor and told them that you know, hey, you know, this is menopause. They said, no, it can't possibly be. You're only 38. And I said, but what else could it be? And it turns out that is exactly what it was. But I guess arrogance is difficult for me to swallow sometimes from other people. So I didn't feel, if I lose my trust in a doctor, then I don't feel like I need to continue through that process. We have a great person now that we go to just as a general person. Her name is Pam, and she listens to us, and she's fantastic. So, and she's totally on board with keto and carnivore, and she's amazing. So yeah, I feel very heard now, but it's not the same medical professional.
Yeah, I have not found a doctor since I moved here, but when I was in California, I went through a couple different ones, and same thing happened. The one doctor I was referred by a friend of mine that went to this. She's like a holistic doctor, and he was like saying, "Oh man, she's really good. She can, just by looking at me, she knew like I should stop eating this and that," and it sounded cool at the time. So I went to see her, and all was good until she did my lab tests and looked at my cholesterol, and then that same stuff came out of her mouth, the statins and this and that, and that's actually, you know, looking back, I'm glad that happened, because that got me on the path of doing the research and really learning what all that stuff meant, because it's like, well, that doesn't sound right to me. And I just started on the whole, I wasn't even full keto yet. I was sort of going that direction. I was doing the bulletproof coffee, and between the initial visit and when I came back for the blood tests or whatever, I ended up losing 5 pounds, and it freaked her out. She couldn't understand why I lost that much weight in a short period of time. It was like 3 months. And I remember, I think I've told Jim this story, but as I was leaving, you know, as she was following up at the end of the visit, she was writing out instructions, like, you know, she wanted me to make some kind of weird herbal tea or something that I'm supposed to sip on all day, like all this weird stuff. But the thing that killed it was she told me to buy some of that Ensure drink because I had lost 5 pounds, and I heard that, and I'm going, that's the worst advice. I can't come back here. That is not like sound medical advice right there. Like, that'll kill me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the last time I went back to her. But then I switched insurance, and I ended up with Kaiser Permanente Insurance out in California, and it's one of those. I don't know if you're familiar with that insurance company, but it's all inclusive. Like they have these Kaiser buildings, you go in there and it's almost like an assembly line. You go see the doctor, they send you down the hall to the lab. You know, it's like this, everything's included so I go to this new doctor and she's young. She's only like 23, right out of medical school. And she does all my weight and all that stuff and sends me down to the lab to get my blood done. And then she calls me on the phone and she goes, "We have to get you on a statin immediately." And she sent me the file. You know, I could go online and look at my files. I looked at, and by this point, I know the deal with cholesterol. And I look at it, my HDL was like 136. My triglycerides were 46. And I'm like, how much better can you get? And she was looking at, you know, of course, the LDL and the total cholesterol. So I get on the phone with her and I try to explain that to her. And I go, well, can I get one of those, there's like a heart, not the CAC, but there was, maybe it was the CAC. I forget which test. I asked for that.
Is it the calcium?
It might have been that one, or it could have been another one. But then I also asked for the particle test. And she was like, but I think it was the one with the heart. She goes, no, they would never approve that test because I was too healthy to get that test. And I was like, but you want to put me on a statin. It was like weird. It's like, so that was the last time I went to her. It's like, okay, you're fired. She was getting all like, she was getting really defensive because I was, you know, she asked me what I ate and I told her and she went through the whole grains and fruits and vegetables and, you know, that whole stupid rambling list that they go telling me to get more exercise, lose weight. You know, this was on the phone. I guess she forgot what I looked like, but it's like, do you even remember the visit? It was just craziness.
But isn't it amazing? They all sing from the same sheet of music. They all go through the, you know, you need to cut out your fats. Don't eat so much red meat.
Yeah, the low fat.
Low fat. You need to trim the fat. You need to, you know, take the skin off the chicken.
No red meat. Yeah.
Yeah, no red meat, and you know, plenty of vegetables and grains. You want to incorporate more of your oatmeals and stuff. It's just amazing what they tell you.
And more canola oil.
Yeah. Throw the seed oils in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, since listening to Dr. Barry talk, you know, he goes through that whole thing of the protocol of a doctor and how they're just like roped into that. It's like
they're kind of slaves to the insurance industry.
Right. And if they don't,
they have to follow.
Yeah. If they don't do that, they don't get paid and they can get in trouble and lose their license. And yeah, it's terrible. They have to just go along with the bad advice. Like I couldn't live with myself if I was a doctor and had to give out bad advice. Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Barry, even, I think this morning he sent out a video to the Patreon, and, you know, he was saying he's still, as confident as he is, he's still very nervous in regards to giving some advice publicly because it goes against the guidelines in which he knows he has to follow. So, you know, it's amazing that a doctor cannot just prescribe the best medicine that they have found to be true for their patients based on their studies, but that they got to go by some, you know, insurance paid or big pharma sponsored study, which never is the real truth.
Well, yeah, you know, I was listening to this podcast this morning about a guy. He wrote a book about what is the I don't even remember the title of the book, but it had to do with natural, the term natural, like what is natural? Like that could mean anything. And they referred to, you know, like the like processed food and all that stuff. They were talking about the technical, like the technical advances and like the, you know, how kids are stuck with the internet and their smartphones and all that stuff. It's almost like the processed food version of technology, and it's killing us the same way, like in our minds, as food is with our bodies. And the medical industry you know, it's not what it started out as. It's not a doctor trying to make somebody healthy. It turned into this big processed industry that's just built on profit. And that's what happens with all this stuff. And that's how it gets out of hand, and it ends up killing you instead of helping you.
Right. No, at the end of the day, it always comes back down to greed. It morphs into something that it was never intended to morph into. Matter of fact, it was intended to do the opposite of what it morphs into, which is the even more tragic part of it.
Right.
And then you got these good people who literally go into medical school or want to become a doctor or a nurse for all the right reasons, but they literally, in order to get to that position or hold that title, they literally have to compromise their
integrity.
ethics, their integrity. Yeah. And then, you know, even if they start to find out, like Dr. Barry, you know, had to find out the hard way, that even when you start going by your heart, you know, they can pull the plug on you. Next thing you know, what you worked so hard for, that's, you know, it's tough. I would not want to become a doctor under today's guidelines and strict regulations. I mean, you got so much on your plate, and then on top of the you know, trying to not get sued by your patients and everybody else, it's just it's tough to become a doctor in this day and age.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't cut out to be a doctor.
Yeah, I'll just continually stay at a Holiday Inn Express and leave it at that. So anyway, Peggy, you still there?
I'm still here.
So what would you say to people out there who've heard your story or maybe dealing with something very relatable? What would you suggest to them?
I would say that the first step is really to get away from sugar and anything that turns into sugar in your body, and then take it step by step from there. I think that sugar is a drug that we have an addiction to, and we have to get it completely out of our bodies. And people tell me all the time, I can't do that. No, you can do that. You can do that, because once you have done it, once you do it, give yourself 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. You'll lose the cravings. Cravings be gone. They will no longer be there. They will no longer be a problem. And you'll be able to think much more clearly. Your brain fog will lift, and you're going to feel better. And I bet you within that 2 week period, you will have lost weight. Don't calorie count. Don't macro count. Don't do anything other than just get rid of sugar and anything that turns into sugar in your body, and then take it from there and see how you feel and move on from there.
Yeah, it's funny how people they're terrified of having to give up sugar. It's like, oh, I can't have coffee without sugar in it. It's like, well, yeah, you probably could. Like another thing I've learned is how my taste will totally adapt. You know, it'll shift. I'll feel like I'm missing out at first, but if I just keep on it, pretty soon I end up preferring it without it. You know, it's like people don't realize how easy that really is.
It is, and we use liquid stevia, so and I don't find that liquid stevia hurts me. So substitute away when you first get started with keto. If you need things to be sweet, then find an artificial sweetener and go that route. I mean, I don't think that's the greatest thing for any of us, but it's a whole lot better than sugar.
Yeah, it's funny. For me, I have a problem with just the sweetness itself, because it will cravings for me. But since I cut all that out, it's almost like now if I do have something that has any kind of sweetness, it's overpowering to me. It's like, how did I used to stand this? In fact, I bought some of that Redmond's Relight electrolyte powder, and they have plain and they have flavored. And I started off with the plain, and I was curious about the flavor because I saw Anisha had some of the flavored, and she was just putting the scoop right in her mouth. I don't know how she could take that stuff. Is so sweet. So I bought one of each, and now I'll take, like almost a whole scoop of the plain, and then a tiny little bit of the sweetened one, and put it in there. So it's just a tiny hint of like flavor and sweetness. I could never do like a full scoop of the sweet. I don't know. That would kill me at this point. But because my taste has completely changed now.
Yeah, mine has too. I think that I feel any sweetener is just overwhelming. So, but I think when people first get started, do what you need to do to get away from the sugar.
What I did?
It's important.
I substituted salt. Like anytime I felt like something needed to be sweet, I put salt on it or in it. Or like I used to eat the unsweetened dark chocolate, and I just dump salt on it and eat it. And after a while, my mind would adapt to that combination.
Yeah, we have to get rid of the mindset that salt is bad for our bodies. I think our bodies require salt, and it's good for us to consume good quality salt.
Yeah, I put it in all my water. Now it's almost like I can't drink water without it.
Yeah, I do that no flavor electrolytes from Redmond as well, Brian, and I just do that one little teeny scoop thing into the water, and it's to me it takes me back to at the beach where I end up swallowing some beach water for a second, because that stuff is so salty, but I take it every morning as well.
Yeah, I do a few different things. I have electrolyte drops, I have electrolyte powder, and then I also have just the Redmond salt. I'll just dump some in my palm and just put it in a glass and fill it with water. I just do like all kinds of different combinations.
You got a Redmond salt block, a salt lick for your pets out back?
Yeah, well, it's not Redmond. I forget where I got that. I got that on Amazon, but they have a rope. It's like a cylinder with a hole in the middle with a rope, and I stick it on the fence post out there. The birds even didn't like it. That surprised me. I didn't realize birds went after salt like that.
Really?
Yeah, see,
I didn't know that.
they're on there like pecking at it or licking it or whatever they do. I guess they have a tongue.
We'll have to try that. We definitely have tons of birds, and we love watching them. But I'll have to do an experiment now. I'll have to get a salt block and put out there and see what happens.
Yeah, it surprised me. But those deer definitely love it. They'll stand there for like 15 minutes licking on it.
Well, it is time to wrap up another episode and put it in the books. So I want to thank Peggy for joining us this evening and for sharing her story and giving people an idea of what's possible through the keto carnivore lifestyle, when you start to literally take control of your life by understanding that food is fuel for your body. It's also health for your body. So eat to thrive, eat to be healthy, and take nobody's advice, including mine or Brian's or Peggy's, over your own. Your body knows what your body craves and what your body needs. So, people say, well, I just can't do that. I need to go to my doctor. Look, the best advice I can give you is just to say, look, you're your best physician. You are your best physician. Get to know your body. Somebody, if you think going to see somebody in a lab coat with the initials DR or MD
And
before or after, what's that, Brian?
I said, and a prescription pad.
And a prescription pad. Just know they're not going to know your body in those few minutes that you're there just because they took your temperature and blood pressure and your height. The reality of it is none of those three things are going to tell you, like the things you've heard Peggy and Brian share with you all tonight, that your body's reacting differently to vegetables or to raw cream. Only you can do that testing on your own body by eliminating those things and reincorporating those things into your life. So,
yeah, I was going to say that one of the things that I get is somebody will be questioning me about it, and they'll be having problems too. and I'll tell them what I do, and it's like that thing where it's like, oh man, I don't know if I could ever do that. And the advice that I try to give, I don't know how many people follow it, but I just go, try it for a month. Like, do it for a month, and just 30 days. And at the end of those 30 days, if you feel better, then continue. But if it didn't help, then just go back to what you were doing.
Right. No, and that's what we should be doing. If especially, I wish, it did take me this long to gain the wisdom I have now. I wish I would have started treating my body. I remember this one guy told him, look, once you hit 30, how you lived your life for those first 30 years is going to determine how healthy your next 30 years is going to be for you. And so, you need to get into those routines, those healthy habits, because they will produce health in you. But if, people who say, well, I just can't do that, the reality of it is, don't say that. Those are defeating words. I mean, I'm here to encourage you tonight. The best thing to do is don't go, well, starting Monday, I'm going to start doing that when it's Friday night. No, the best thing you can do is the next second, start to implement that. And if you fall off, get back on. Let your next second be when you start again. And then over time, the more good seconds, more good minutes that you can have deposited or positive steps in your life, well, you'll see the results manifest. And, like I get a chance to witness the positive results of Peggy when she eats the way she wants to eat or knows how to eat. You get a chance to see the results from that. And I also pay the price when I decide to indulge in my dark chocolate or decide to go back to peanut butter for a night. I pay the price for that. I feel the consequences, and I have to sit there and say to myself, why am I doing this to myself? And the reality of it is, it's just my mind. It's my mind. My mind believes if I could have that peanut butter, then all my issues at that moment are all been solved. I'll feel good again. The reality of it is, I won't feel good again. I have the illusion while I'm tasting it that I'm feeling good, but it will be short-lived, and reality will come right around the corner.
Yeah. Sometimes my mind is not my friend.
Yeah. That's the one thing, talk about controlling sugar and controlling seed oils and what you're putting in, but this is a whole process. This is about life, controlling your mind. Once you realize that the mind is always not going to give you the best for you, you'll start to realize you can't trust your mind. I know that sounds crazy, but the reality of it is, you gotta go with your instinct, your ancient behavior.
Intuition.
Yes. You can excuse the pun, but you got to go with your gut instinct. So.
Yeah, my mind will talk me out. Try to talk me out of everything that's good for me.
Yeah, and I think that's what it does to most of us. So get control of that, and I think the world becomes yours. So you get control of your mind, and the opportunities are endless for you to be able to learn all kinds of new things. So it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to look at keto carnivore as a way of a lifestyle for you to live. And if you really don't know what it's about, ask somebody who does, or send us an email. We'd be more than happy to come alongside you or give you some resources to utilize. But that's all I got. Peggy or Brian, what you guys have to end up with? Anything you want to say to wrap it up? Peggy,
anything?
I just think that I hope that people can understand that this is really not hard. It's easy, and what doing keto or low carb does is it makes you able to control your food cravings. So you're not constantly on the roller coaster of needing the next meal, needing sugar, needing the French fries or whatever it is, you like seriously step off of that roller coaster, and you are now in control instead of letting these cravings control you. And so I just encourage people to give it a whirl, try it and see, and experience for yourself what it's like to not be controlled by your food.
Yeah, and it is pretty easy once, especially when you do try it for an extended period of time and you start seeing or feeling the results, it becomes even easier.
It sure does.
All right. Well, that wraps up another week. And we will see you guys next Friday. Brian, anything you want to share? Anything going on? Or you're good?
Yeah. My dilemma is trying to figure out what I'm going to defrost or like tomorrow's meal. I open that freezer and it's just packed full of stuff. And I'm like, oh, decisions.
You got a map someplace? You know what's buried deep at the bottom? Do you know what's in there?
I kind of do, because it's not that big of a freezer, but yeah, every once in a while I have to dig through just to make sure I didn't forget something. I did find a piece of it. Remember that bacon wrapped meatloaf I made like months ago?
Yeah.
I still found a big chunk of that in there in the freezer, and I'm like, I might as well just toss this because I don't even feel like eating this one anymore.
2019 is the date on it?
Probably. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna cook tomorrow, but anyway. Well, anyway, what's that, Brian?
I was gonna say I'm leaving town tomorrow, so I can't like do anything fancy tomorrow. It's gotta be something quick. So I don't know. Maybe a piece of.
Oh, we have grass-fed roasts marinating in the refrigerator, so that's what we are cooking tomorrow.
Yeah, we found. Hey, Brian, we're getting another cow. We're gonna try. We're getting this person we know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely gonna get a freezer as soon as one becomes available somewhere.
Yeah, we went to Lowe's yesterday. Was it yesterday? Because someone said that Lowe's had them again, and so we went there and no.
Well, the few that I saw were a little too big, like the 14 cubic feet or 15, big one, huge ones. And I'm thinking more like 9 or 10 around that size. I don't want to get a humongous, but those are always the ones that are sold out because I guess they're the most in demand.
Right. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Everybody stay safe, eat meat, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.